Hello, I am Joshua P. Warren, and this is Joshua P. Warren Daily. And I want to ask you some questions about what you would do if you were given the option to travel through time. It's an interesting subject, and it's one that I have been discussing over the past several days because I have been filming a television show with George Noory, host of Coast to Coast AM. And we were actually filming in Colorado. For now, that's all I can tell you about it because you might be able to gather already what we were doing. But as a general rule in the TV business, you really don't announce specifically what you have produced or what you've shot or whatever until the company decides they're ready to promote it. And that's a good policy, really, if you're dealing with any kind of a big company, because if you go out there and you say something and for some reason they think it's premature, they get really pissed off. It's a taboo. So what I can tell you, however, is that I was filming a TV program in Colorado with George Noory. And George Noory and I have done so many TV projects over the years. I mean, way back in the day, we were on the Sci-Fi Channel together. That was a crazy show. We had, oh my gosh, Gary Busey was on there. We had Whitley Strieber. I mean, talk about an interesting bunch of people. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. So I just got in. I just got off an airplane, and before I dig into all this content, I'm sure that most of you have not been flying or doing much traveling during this whole pandemic situation. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about what that experience is like. And have you noticed that some businesses are just trying to shit you on things right now and blame it on the virus? Have you seen this? I'll give you some examples. So I travel a lot. I've been traveling. I've been filming television programs for, oh gosh, 28 years or something like that. I've traveled so much. I worked for the Travel Channel. I've traveled so much that nowadays, if I'm going to travel at all on an airplane, I got to have first class tickets. And I'm no small guy, and I need the space, and I need look. It's sort of like if you want me to go somewhere for you, if you want me to go do something for a show or an event or a business meeting or whatever, if you're not willing to arrange for me to fly first class, you don't want me bad enough. All right, let's put it that way. So I always insist on first class because again, usually when I'm traveling, it's for business. People are making money off of this. It's not like it's charity work. So I always insist on flying first class. And I am a member of TSA PreCheck. So what that means, of course, is when you go to the airport, you don't have to stand in the big long line with everybody who is essentially a stranger to the TSA. That you go in advance, you go to the TSA, you sit down with them, they interview you, they ask you questions, you fill out all this paperwork, they fingerprint you, then you pay them, all so that you can become pre-check, which means you show up at the airport and there is a separate line for you and you can just breeze right through it. You don't have to take off your shoes or your jacket. You don't have to take your water out of your like your liquids or whatever out of your bag. I don't even think you have to remove your computer or whatever. You just breeze right through it. That's what you're paying for. And it improves the experience dramatically. If you're flying and you got TSA pre-check and you get a first class seat and you don't have to worry about your baggage, it's not that difficult. It's not that grueling to fly compared to doing it the old-fashioned way. Like you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, so I got to the airport. And I was flying off to do this on my own by myself. I got to the airport, and I'm telling you, the big Las Vegas airport here, the McCarran International Airport, it was like a ghost town. I have never seen a major airport so dead. When I first walked in, honestly, I did not see another customer I saw two or three like staff members sprinkle, but I didn't see anybody else who looked like they were there to fly. Now, can you believe that? And I was thinking to myself, well, you hear these stories about like a guy goes to get on an airplane and they say, well, sir, guess what? You're the only person. And the guy has the whole plane to himself. You never know if that's going to be you. But so it looked like, I mean, I'd already had my boarding pass was printed. I was like, man, I'm going to just like breeze right onto this airplane. This is going to be nothing. And flying from Las Vegas to Colorado. I don't want to say exactly where I was, but making that trip. But it's a fairly fast flight. It's like 2 hours. So anyway, I make my way over to the TSA to go through security, and there is this big long line of people. I'm like, oh, here's where all the people are. They're winding back and forth. But I'm like, oh, glad I don't have to stand in that shit. And then I went over to the TSA pre-check, closed. What? This is one of the biggest international airport. Okay. This is where they have the Janet Airlines that fly to Area 51 and back. And they don't have, like TSA like two people there to run the TSA pre-check. No, it's closed down. And mind you, I pay for this. I got fingerprinted for this. I got, I filled out all this. It only lasts 5 years. All right, fine. So now I got to stand in line with everybody else. And this is one of the slowest lines. There was like 3 people working for the TSA there. Slowest lines. There were people missing their flights. By the way, about half the people were wearing masks, and about half of them were not. I was not wearing a mask. So anyway, when I finally got up there, I mean, at least I gave myself enough time because I've traveled enough to know you better give yourself a little extra time because things can go wrong. And this would be an example of that, needing that extra time. So I got up there, and even though I had to stand in line forever, at least I still didn't have to like take off my shoes and my jacket. They gave me some perks. Anyway, all right, so fine. So I make my way to the gate to get on the airplane. And I was practically at the front of the plane. I was like seat number 1 or 2 or whatever, right up there, like I say, first class section. Usually, when you have a first class ticket, and those things are expensive, usually you get to board first, and then you put all your luggage wherever you want it, and you chill out, and. But they said, okay, well, because of the COVID-19 situation, we're doing the opposite this time. We have to board the plane starting at the back and then go forward so that we have less exposure from people walking past each other. Right. So they've reversed the usual order of boarding the plane, which is not that big of a deal to me, really. But it is kind of funny because I was thinking, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. The Bible was right after all. So I wait, I'm like the last dude to get on the plane, but it's fine. I sit down, I settle in. They tell you you've got to wear a mask on the plane. You got to wear a mask. And wearing a mask sucks because it's hot and I wear glasses and my glasses are fogging up half the time. And I know how you're supposed to prevent that, but it's a sloppy thing. But fine. So everybody on the plane, and the plane was only like maybe a third full. And people are spaced out very well. I didn't have anybody sitting next to me, so that was nice. I could really spread out and, take advantage of that. I got the mask on. We take off. And here is what I like to do when I fly. I load up my little Kindle there with, who knows, half a dozen movies. And then I put in my earbuds and I order a little bottle of wine and I have a little wine and I watch the movie. And by the time the movie's done, and hey, I'm pretty much about ready to land. I mean, it's a very pleasant way to travel on an airplane. I've learned this after so many years. So, when you're in the first class section, usually what they do is they come up and they give you some kind of substantial meal if you want it. They give you all the alcohol you want for free, all that kind of stuff. They give you little hot towels for you to wash your hands, and it's you're paying a lot of money for these things. So anyway, sitting there, and they come around and they give me a little cookie. All right, well, fine. It's a little stroopwafel. It was tasty, but okay, that's about it. So then they come around and they give me a little bottle of water. And so I drink the little bottle of water and I eat the cookie, and it's like, and that is it, pal. That's all you're gonna get. And so I got the flight attendant and I said, "Are we gonna be offered anything else on this flight?" He says, "No, due to the virus, it's too dangerous to offer anything else." And I'm thinking, okay, what is the difference between me removing my mask and eating a cookie and drinking a little bottle of water, and me removing my mask and eating a filet mignon with a glass of champagne? How is that any different in terms of the virus? And I'm exaggerating here a little bit, but you see what I'm saying? That's some bullshit. All right? If you're giving me something to eat and something to drink, and I'm paying, $1,000 for this ticket or whatever, you can do a little better than a bottle of water and a little cookie. All right. So that's when I said, "Well, surely you have some wine here, right?" And the guy goes, "No, I'm sorry. Actually, but due to the COVID-19 situation, all alcohol is discontinued," or something like that. All right. And I look at this guy and I'm like, "Oh man, all right. Now I have to fuck with your mind." So I go into Jedi mode. I say, "You have some wine, I know you do." And he says, "Actually, I do believe we have some wine." And he turns and he comes back, and sure as shit, he has wine that is magically manifest. Now, see, you don't always have to use the Force and the old Jedi mind trick just for life or death situations. You can use it just to make your life a little more pleasurable or fun in little ways as well. By the time the flight was over, I'd had multiple little bottles of wine, just to make a point. And you know what? I actually had my own little bottles of wine in my my carry-on bag. You can take little bottles of wine in your carry-on bag. So I didn't even need their wine. I was just making a point. Now, before I continue, I am so telepathic, I'm hearing some of you out there in the ether across the world listening to me and saying, "Joshua, fuck you. I'm sitting here broke. I can't feed my family. They won't let me leave my house. Everybody has lost their minds. And you're bitching because you had to use special forces or whatever to get your little bottle of wine and your first class seat on your airplane. Go fuck yourself, Mr. Warren." Trust me, I understand why you might feel that way. But look, the fact of the matter is, this is what I do as part of my job. Okay, I'm fortunate that I still have things like people still watch TV. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Right now, TV is doing okay because everybody's at home and they're watching TV. So I'm sorry that I happen to be in the TV business, but I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm not asking for anything that is not paid for and owed. So please, please keep your anger at bay. It is not necessary. I know there are people who have it far worse off than me, but see, I got all these little tools and all these little manifestation techniques that you can learn too. My story could be your story if you just decide to open your mind and use some manifestation techniques in your life. So anyway, look, folks, everybody on the airplane was wearing a mask. When I got to Colorado, everybody in Colorado is wearing a mask. Okay, big mask place. And in Vegas, as you know, they now have it opened up so you can go and you can dine in a restaurant. You can sit down, have a civilized experience. Lauren and I have been to two or three privately owned places. We've been to Chili's, we've been to Texas Roadhouse, and the setup is a little weird. Like they make you wait in your car until your table's ready, and just little stuff like that. But it's not a big deal. And but in Colorado, nope. No dine-in whatsoever, no barber shops, none of that stuff. No retail outlets can open. The only in Colorado, you can go and you can pick up food and run away back to your house and eat it, but you cannot sit there and have anything on the premises. So I get to this hotel, and they're very nice. The TV company put me up in this big fancy hotel, and I mean, the room had all the bells and whistles. I'm not going to go on and on telling you about how nice my experience was, because again, some of you are just going to be pissed off because of that. But that's you shouldn't be thinking that way. All right, that's bad for you. So it was a very nice hotel, but in the hotel they said, uh, "Mr. Warren, everybody has to wear a mask in the hotel at all times, except when you're in your room." And I said, "Oh, darn! I was hoping I could wear it in my room too. That sucks." So, thank you, folks. Here I am, gigantic. This is like, Stanley-esque, shining level giant hotel, and it wasn't the Stanley, by the way, but I mean, it's like a giant hotel. I think there were probably like 10 people staying in this whole hotel, and we're all walking around wearing masks, looking at each other from, across the lobby 50 feet away. So anyway, all right, fine. I'll play along. Let's wear the mask. And which by the way, I think most of us have probably gotten this virus already and don't even know about it. Hey, I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me. Um, but here's another example of what I'm talking about, like the silliness of how all this stuff has evolved. So okay, there's a nice restaurant and bar attached to the lobby of the hotel. So if you're in the lobby of the hotel, there are these nice big like double bay doors, and you walk through them, and here you are in this nice restaurant with a big bar. And the thing is, if you walked through those doors from the lobby into the restaurant, you could walk up to the bar and place an order for whatever you wanted to eat or drink. And then they would give it to you, but you couldn't sit down in this big empty restaurant because that's not legal. But you can, however, turn around, walk 10 feet through the double doors back into the hotel lobby and sit down there and eat and have your big ass dining experience. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? A lot of logical sense. And to make things even stranger, this whole weekend, this is how it is for me. I even got out and I walked around the town that I was in, and I was sort of observing the little glimpses of life milling around, and how everybody was, again, they got their mask and they're just scurrying and they're hurrying from place to place. So that's how it is the whole time I'm in Colorado. So finally, it's time for me to leave. I go to the Denver airport, and I was about to get on I was near the gate. I still had like an hour to kill. I look over, and I realize that in the airport, every single restaurant and bar is wide open, fully blown. Come in, have a seat at the bar or wherever the hell you want and dine. They just have everybody spaced out a little bit more. So nobody's wearing a mask, and it's like back to the good old days, except you got a little more elbow room. So what kind of sense is in an airport, which is probably the most dangerous place of all, where you have all these people from all over the world traveling in and out, and yet that is where everything was open? This is why people are getting really pissed right now. It's because of the lack of consistency in the logic of how things are being handled. And you hear all these politicians and stuff say, I'm relying on science, 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 science. I don't think they know what science is. I think some reporter should stand up and say, can you please tell me what the steps of the scientific method are? Have you ever heard a reporter say that to one of these politicians who talks about science? Say, can you define the word science, please? Can you tell us what that word means and what the steps of the scientific process are? Wouldn't you love for a reporter to just stand up and say that to one of these politicians who's preaching to us about science? It's like, you're not a fucking scientist. You're somebody who won a popularity contest. And you had to sell your soul for millions of dollars to do that. And who knows what interests there are that have their claws in you right now. And oh, look, am I preaching to the choir? I bet I am. Listen to this, though. See, this is what really bothers me. When I was at the restaurant there, adjoining the lobby of the hotel, there was another woman who was standing next to me, and of course, she was all masked up. We're both masked up. She's standing next to me, waiting for some food, and we start chatting, and turns out she is from San Francisco. She was from San Francisco, California. And California, they're really getting pissed in California right now. I mean, the governor there just keeps pushing it and pushing it, and he's not wanting to loosen up anything. So she actually took a vacation to Colorado, and she says, I come to this place all the time. And so she was telling me that she goes, man, in California, everybody is just so over this. And she said, yesterday, my daughter's boyfriend tried to commit suicide. And she said, he for 3 months or whatever, he's been locked up. He had all these prospects. He just graduated from something, and he had something else lined up, and that got closed down. And it's like all these things came tumbling down for the guy, and he tried to commit suicide. And so they had just put him, they just, I guess, had him committed, and he's on like a 72-hour watch. And she said that by going, being a part of that experience, that all these people are saying there's a huge rise right now among suicides and attempted suicides and drug overdoses, and there are spikes in crime. But the media, the mainstream media, is not reporting all that stuff right now. It's all just COVID, 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 COVID. So eventually, when they start actually talking about the other 99% of things that happen in the world, then we're going to see some terrible statistics come out about suicide and, like I say, drug use and domestic violence and all these things that are happening because on a widespread level, devastating far more people than the virus itself. So that's the very sad thing about all this. And people are really frustrated because, in the Declaration of Independence, there is this great line that talks about the consent of the governed. And let me just read this passage, especially for those of you who don't live in the USA. The Declaration of Independence, which is a sacred document here in our country, it says that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever in any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. I know that's a mouthful, so let me just repeat this. Governments are instituted, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, to institute new government, to affect their safety and happiness. That's my little edited version of that. The consent of the governed. And we're seeing that consent degrade tremendously day in day, aren't we? But everybody's like, what do I do about it? What do I do about it? Well, look, as I've told you before, you are manifestors. Keep working. Keep hammering. Work on your neck of the woods. Use your tools to get past this. I'm not going to get into these strategies and techniques right now. I've talked about them before, but that's what we can do, because that is what we are good at, manifesting things. I'm doing a good job in my neck of the woods. It's up to you to do a good job in your neck of the woods and tell other people about this and what they can do. And what's funny is that news that used to be just like weirdo paranormal news, it's now mainstream news. It's like the whole UFO thing. I say, you know, they have acknowledged that we have UFOs now, and it's not even a big deal. Fox News had this mainstream news story. Maybe you saw it. Let me sit down here and I'll read it to you. It's not that long. Quarantined in a haunted house. Quarantined in a haunted house. This was written by Michael Holland. Florida man describes surviving lockdown in supposedly haunted house. How often is this happening? It says ghosts don't care about social distancing. While being stuck at home during the coronavirus pandemic wasn't a lot of fun for many people, some had uniquely unpleasant experiences. For example, one Florida resident says he's been in lockdown with the ghosts of a murdered family. Kurt Schleicher says that while he was a non-believer when he bought the house, he may have changed his mind. The New York Post reports he lives in the house where Victor Licata reportedly murdered his parents, siblings, and family dog. Quote, I guess you could say I'm getting to know my roommates, Schleicher told the New York Post. Quote, they left this earth in a stressful way. They were murdered while they slept, and their time was cut short, so I understand where they're coming from, end quote. Schleicher said the longer he stays in the house, the more he feels a supernatural presence. Even if the house isn't actually haunted, however, the house reportedly has some unpleasant reminders of the past. Schleicher told the New York Post about possible axe marks he found in one of the home's window frames. Quote, you notice all of these weird things when you normally wouldn't, he said, and there's so much time to think about how scary they are, end quote. While Schleicher isn't the only living thing in the house, his dog isn't helping him feel less haunted. According to him, quote, my dog, a boxer, has been sitting in the bedroom where the mother was murdered and barking at the wall for no reason. It's not in his nature. In the bathroom, you can feel a coldness come over you, a cold brush of something walking by, end quote. And you know what? I have been receiving plenty of reports myself from people saying, I have a haunted house, and usually they keep to themselves, I keep to myself, it's not a big deal, I like the house, I like the property, so we just kind of don't mess with each other. Now that I'm stuck here all the time, it's freaking me out. Now, look, I realize there are people out there who roll their eyes at this sort of thing, but there are a lot of people out there who realize, no, there's something to this. I mean, the psychological torture of being pent up. It almost sounds like that guy lives in the Amityville house, doesn't it? But speaking of The Shining, remember what happened? That was what the whole Shining was about, cabin fever. The guy is locked up more or less. He's secluded, trapped in this old resort with his family and the ghosts. And the ghosts drive this guy insane, and Jack Nicholson's character, and he becomes possessed basically, and then tries to kill his family. So you have to be careful when you're pent up and you feel trapped. You have to be careful. The energy of objects and things that you have in your life. Listen to this. This is actually kind of funny. I am very fortunate. I have wonderful listeners all over the world, as you know, and this show just keeps growing and growing all the time. And many of the listeners and supporters are so generous and kind that they want to send me gifts from time to time. And as I mentioned before, that's cool, but always contact me first and let me know what you're planning to send, because honestly, sometimes I don't want things because I turn them down. So, not too long ago, I got an email from a guy who's a great supporter. I'm sure I'll be meeting him in the very near future in person. His name is Bill. He lives in South Carolina, and he has just recently started sculpting statues. And he's been following my work for a long time. And he contacted me and he said, "Look, I made a statue and I'd like to give it to you as a gift." And he sent me a picture of it. And it is, about 8.5 inches tall. And it is this incredible, dramatic Grim Reaper standing there over this sort of like Victorian Ebenezer Scrooge-esque tombstone. And the tombstone says Lemur vertically, and at the bottom it says Warren, Warren. And immediately I was like, oh my God, this thing is awesome, but it looks haunted as hell. I mean, would you want to have a statue of the Grim Reaper hovering over your tombstone with your name on it? It's kind of morbid, don't you think, right? And I was like, I've had enough issues bringing haunted stuff into my house because I don't have anything else to do with it right now since we're all on lockdown. And I've told Lauren, I swear, until I get a little more space to store some of these things, I won't bring any other stuff into the house that seems to have a haunted attachment to it. And so I was honored that Bill had made this statue, and again, cool as hell. But I emailed him and I said, I sense there has got to be a spiritual attachment to this. I'm going to have to decline this. I'm sorry, very nice of you, but I'm sure you understand. And he wrote me back and he was cool. He said, yeah, I understand. I mean, it is kind of like creepy, isn't it, for somebody to send you again, a tombstone with your name on it and the Grim Reaper overhead, and you're like, oh shit. If I die, it's because Bill sent me this thing, right? But the funny thing is, it was so cool. I started telling Lauren a little bit about Bill, and I showed her the picture of it, and she thought it was amazing. It says, no, okay, that's too cool. That's fine. Go ahead. So I was like, great. So Bill sent this statue to me. I'm going to post a picture of this so that you see the incredible talent he has. He's so talented, I think I'm going to be having some conversations with him about possibly creating some special things for some special projects. Maybe some stuff I'll even be able to offer to you. But as you see, if you go to my Twitter account at Joshua P. Warren, you will see this 8.5-inch cool statue that Bill made for me. And even though it looks amazing and he's an extremely talented guy, yes, it is the Grim Reaper hovering over my name on a tombstone. So if I die suddenly, blame Bill in South Carolina. He sent me some kind of possessed thing. But no, thank you, Bill. That's really cool. And I guarantee you it will be put on prominent display once I'm able to fulfill some of my ultimate plans here in Las Vegas. Listen to what else I got that was really amazing. Okay, another big supporter of this show is a man named Jason who lives in Colorado, and he and I correspond frequently. And Jason, he has many, many interests. He's been following my work for a long time, but one thing that he is especially fascinated by are opals. And of course, opals, they're really they're unique among gems. I mean, they are iridescent, and um, in fact, it's really weird because opal. I was born in October, and opal is the birthstone of October. And let's see here. I think that's right. Or it's either that or it's the birthstone of Scorpio, because I'm also a Scorpio. Let's see. Um oh, I can't find it right now. I think it's either the birthstone of the month of October, or it's just okay, no, associated with the month of October. Okay. And also growing up, my mother always had this favorite necklace she would wear, and it was an opal necklace. And I've never actually bought an opal, which is weird. I don't know why that is. And just recently, Lauren and I watched this movie called Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler. Now, that is a chaotic movie. I mean, if you have anxiety problems, you should not watch that movie. It's just tension, 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 tension. It's just nonstop. It's almost like somebody running their fingernails down a chalkboard. It's that kind of a movie. But it has just breathtaking graphics that appear to go. Like, it takes you on this journey like you're traveling inside of an opal, and it's like a galaxy in there. And what they call the MacGuffin in movies, like the MacGuffin is the central thing that the plot revolves around. Like, for example, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the MacGuffin was the Lost Ark. And the Maltese Falcon, the MacGuffin was the Maltese Falcon. In Uncut Gems, the MacGuffin is this giant black opal that was found in Africa. And basically, what happens is this basketball player uh, becomes obsessed with it because he believes it is bringing him enormous good luck. And I won't tell you all about the movie, but throughout the whole movie, this big opal is associated with good luck and people sort of being obsessed, right? And so I had the opal on my mind, and then Jason contacts me and says, "Yeah, I've been into opals for a long time." And he starts telling me about how he buys them from around the world and he spends all this time polishing them. And he said, "I would like to give you some opals." And I said, "Heck yeah, that sounds wonderful." So he asked me about some of my favorite colors and things like that. And I figured that he was probably actually going to follow through with this and do it. But you can never be sure. I mean, that's quite a thing to send some opals to somebody, and especially some really nice ones. So time went by, and well, guess what? Right before I left for my trip and got on the airplane, I checked my mail, and here is the package from Jason. And I opened it up, and he sent me 5 opals, and they are absolutely breathtaking. And knowing that opals are good luck, I actually took them with me on my trip. And honestly, things went very well on my trip. I even got my little glass of wine there, didn't I? I'm not too hard to please. So anyway, the problem is, Jason, now Lauren and I are fighting over these opals because before I knew it, Lauren was already picking up opals and going, "Oh, look at that," and holding it up to her ring finger. I'm like, those are my opals. Jason sent them to me for me to do what I want, to use them for magical purposes. Maybe I'll make a piece of jewelry for me. You see, it's just like Uncut Gems. We're becoming obsessed over these opals. But Jason, they're absolutely stunning. Go to @JoshuaP. Warren on Twitter. I'll post a picture of these opals that he sent me. The pictures do not do them justice. They really don't. I'm not even going to try to describe what they look like though, because the pictures will be better than my description. But just imagine, iridescent, multicolored galaxies that have incredible depth. One of them is completely raw, and then there's one that's really polished, and I can't figure out which one of those I like better. They're really really amazing. So go look at that, and I'm sure that Lauren and I will come to some kind of a suitable arrangement for how we divvy up this this booty. But they're all mine. Don't worry, Jason. Nobody will get anything permanently. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. So look, I bring this up because I'm talking about having things in your life with energy. And honestly, I know that Bill is a good guy, and I think he sent me something with a lot of love and positive energy. And I know that Jason's a good guy, and he sent me these opals that he spent time on and hand selected, and there's a lot of love and positive energy. And you need to do that. Bring positive stuff into your house. Try to avoid bringing anything negative, because you might end up getting stuck with it, right? You might end up getting stuck with it. So when I was in Colorado and I was filming with George Noory, we talked about a lot of different stuff, a lot. And obviously, this will be on TV in the near future, so I'm not going to tell you everything we talked about. But one thing we did get into was time travel. And, of course, I found the time warp, the time anomaly, or whatever you want to call it, a couple years ago here outside of Las Vegas on the way to Area 51. I mean, I have a history of toying with these things. And right now, I'm looking into trying to back engineer what I found in the field in order to see if I can create a device that will actually manipulate time, even if it's by a fraction of a second. Because if you can do that, then it will essentially open a potential door and create a chain reaction that will allow a lot of strange paranormal things to happen. That's a whole other big ass topic unto itself, and it's a little premature for me to go down that rabbit hole just yet. But when this topic came up, George asked me, would you go into the future or the past? Okay, it's a very good question. It's a simple question, but it's also a really complicated question. Let's just assume that there is only one particular timeline, that we don't have multiple timelines, and that life is not like a choose your own adventure book. I think it is. I think there are multiple timelines, and that you can sort of take forks in the road with free will, and you can choose which timeline you want to experience at a certain particular stage in the game. But for the sake of simplicity, let's assume that we're just sticking with one timeline. The timeline that we all share collectively, the timeline that we look at in our history books. Would you rather go into the past or the future? Well, I said right off the bat, I think it would be easier to go into the past, just from a technical point of view. And again, I'm not going to get into all the reasons why. But I said, I really believe that I would go into the past. As much as I'd like to see, everything, I would go into the past. And George says, where would you go? And I didn't know he was going to ask me that question. So I guess maybe I could have thought a little longer about it. But the first thing that came to mind is I said, I'd love to go back and see exactly what Nikola Tesla was doing in his laboratory. What kind of stuff that guy was up to? Because he was seeing reality on a whole different level than everybody else. And George said, I'd like to go back and see Jesus. And I said, well, absolutely. I would love to see the crucifixion and, be there to witness what happened with Jesus. And then I mentioned how, it wouldn't be cool if you could just go look at, say, P.T. Barnum's museum in New York that burned down. What kind of weird, amazing shit did that guy have? I mean, there's so much stuff. But I was talking to Lauren about this, and I said, yeah, George said he'd like to go back and see what the deal was with Jesus, and I would too. And I mentioned I think it would be interesting to be there at the crucifixion, but maybe I should have said the resurrection, because that that's a real fundamental aspect of why people believe in the concept of Jesus, that he was brought back to life. And Lauren was saying, yeah, I've never really understood why that Jesus had to suffer all that much, to make this point. Because if you believe the stories in the Bible, and if you don't, that's fine. But if you do, it basically says, Jesus did not want to go be beaten and crucified. He was in the garden all night praying, saying, hey, isn't there some other way we can do this? And God's like, nope, sorry, this is the only way. And it doesn't make a lot of sense from a certain point of view, because you think, like, why would God want that? But if you're going to justify that, if you're going to look at it like a lawyer for God on this, look, ultimately, there are only two things that can exist in reality: stillness and motion. And if you are still, let's say you're at absolute zero, and you just sit there and you do nothing and you just feel at peace, fine. That is some kind of perfection, some kind of nirvana, and that's all you do. You sit there and you're still. Some people think that plants are closer to that state than humans. Maybe, even though plants do move around a lot. They're quite dynamic, and they go through struggles. But maybe absolute, like, peace would just be you sitting there as a little particle in the universe, just motionless for eons. But the alternative to that is motion. You have to get out and vibrate and transition and experience things. And in order to experience things, that is how you fulfill life. Life is something that has to be fulfilled. It only exists when it is experienced, right? You have to experience it. And the thing is, it has awesome stuff and horrible stuff and everything in between. And so you go through these ups and downs. So if you're not going to be that perfect still point of nirvana, you're going to have to go through these transitions. And these transitions are going to be all over the place and often painful. So as a part of this, if we are supposed to learn in this big classroom called life, that as we are experiencing things, we are actually eternal beings, that we are spirits that are going to continue to survive after the physical death. If we're supposed to learn that, because it's going to somehow improve the way we live and experience things, the best way to demonstrate that is to show an example of this to humans in reality. And so back when Jesus was being crucified, they didn't have television and radio and newspapers. So the closest thing you could do to show the most people out there that this guy was actually killed was for him to get a public execution. And unfortunately, that really, really, really sucked back then. But, it's like the only way you're going to show enough people that this guy was dead was to do it publicly. So imagine if they'd taken Jesus and they practically beat him to death, and then they crucified him, and then they shoved a spear in his side, and everybody's like, yep, that guy's dead. And they took him down off the cross, and 30 minutes later, he popped back up and said, oh, I feel terrible. People would be like, that is one tough motherfucker. Wow, that guy, we thought he was dead. What a near-death experience he had. Nope. He had to be beaten, crucified, stabbed, wrapped up, put in a tomb, dead as hell for 3 days and 3 nights. And then he's back. And at that point, there's no question in anybody's mind, like, that guy was dead as hell. That guy was dead. That is why there is some reason to think that whatever, I mean, again, maybe all this is just something fictional. This is for you to decide. But if we are to presume there may be something to this, then it would make sense that if you're trying to demonstrate to ancient humans that you can somehow survive physical death, then unfortunately the only way to do it would have been through a horrible public execution. And so it does make you wonder, I guess there are so many things that you would want to see. You'd want to see all of the stuff attributed to Jesus, all the miracles and everything. But if you saw some miracle, you might be like, well, that was just a magic trick. I didn't know Jesus had a fake thumb. But on the other hand, if you saw the guy like die like that, and then 3 days later he's back, it's big, it's huge. So I can understand why a lot of people would say, I'd go back and look at Jesus. But would it be interesting to go back and look at the dinosaurs? Of course. How about go back and look at the supposed Big Bang when all this started? How about going back to look at what happened before the Big Bang? Ha! So look, given the options, yes, it would be cool to go into the future. Of course, the way things are going right now, I think I might want to say, screw the future, I'm going to stick in the past. I don't think that anytime soon we're going to be traveling to the past or the future. But we can see it. We can already do that because the brain is a miniature time machine. That's why you're able to have memories. What you had for breakfast yesterday, you're doing mental time travel. And that's also why that you can predict future outcomes as a human being. When you're about to cross the street, you look both ways and you see the cars that are coming and you calculate their speed and you look at the distance you have to pass. And then you say, here is what's going to happen if I do this. I'm going to get hit by this car. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what's going to happen if I do that. I'm going to make it across. And you envision these future multiple alternative timeline scenarios. Your brain is a miniature time machine. And that's why people talk about sometimes déjà vu, which is French for already seen. Already seen. So if you experience déjà vu, then perhaps what's happening is you are seeing something that you saw already in the past. At the time you saw it, it was the future. But when you catch up to it in your present, you realize that you had seen the future in the past, but you had to catch up to it in the present in order to realize that. Does all that make sense? Are you staying with me? So I'd rather go into the past, because as cool as it would be to see how crazy we get and all the sci-fi stuff, or how what a dystopia we create, or what, I don't know what's going to happen in the future any more than you do when it comes to like the ultimate. I mean, I know ultimately this whole planet's just going to die, but that's supposedly a long way in the future, right? But it would be really interesting to have more of your identity and go back and look at the past. And so let me ask you that. You may never be able to travel into the past physically and pop out, Michael J. Fox style in Back to the Future. But if we are able to create some type of a mechanism that is a time machine that operates on a smaller scale, we might be able to expand that into a device that's like a camera that allows us to look at least back into the past. The future might be more tricky, but at least into the past. You have a tuner there, and as you're tuning through the channels, you're actually tuning through the minutes, the hours, the days, the weeks, the months, the years, the decades, the centuries, to look back and see things as they actually happened on this timeline as opposed to how we were told things happened. So what would you do though? What would you do? Would you go into the future to see what's going to happen? Or would you go into the past? And if you went into the past, and I'm talking about just looking at it, not physically going, but actually, you know what? Let's look at both options. If all you had to do was go look at the past, where would you go? And if you had to physically be in the past, where would you go? Because those are two very different things. There are a lot of people who might want to go back and look at a point in history, but they would not want to be there for that point of history because it would be a horrible thing to experience. So those are two different things. Let me know what you think if this is of interest to you. In the past, if you choose to go to the past, where would you go if you're just going to see it, and where would you go if you had to pop out and physically be there? And I also know that if you have to be there, the question is, how long do I have to be there? So for the sake of this mental experiment, let's say you have to be there for at least an hour, but after that, you could come back to the present if you wanted to. Of course, that's never going to be guaranteed. Things can always screw up. The brain, being a miniature time machine, is amazing. We are spirits with a body, and spirits can direct thought. And thought is an invisible thing, but thought can morph the physical world. Thought allows us to experience things. We can look into the past and the future and feel things. You don't even have to try that hard. If I say, hey, remember that TV show that you watched last week? You go, oh yeah. You don't even have to try that hard. It's a right-brained process. It's not some kind of left analytical brain thing. And it's funny because I get emails like this from time to time. I got an email from a guy just today, and he said, if I get a wishing machine and I find a product I want online and I wish for it, is it just going to miraculously get delivered to my door? Or is it going to just appear? How is that going to happen? And I wrote him back and I said, listen, I gave him all the educational content. There's a ton of free educational content that I've produced out there for you anyway, if you just go to wishingmachineproject.com. But I said, when you're working with manifestation, including the wishing machine, you never ask the question of how is this going to happen. You just focus on what you want, and you let the universe work out the how it happens. Because you're not even capable of understanding what the options are. And sometimes if you want to wish for something, you should wish for that thing or something better. There's a little caveat there. I want this thing or something better. So you keep all the options open. You do not have the imagination or the omniscience to grasp all of the ways in which the universe can bring something to you. So if you are stuck on a certain mindset for how you want or you expect that thing to come to you, you're throwing up an obstacle. You're limiting the options for the universe to bring this to you. So why would you do that? You have to be humble and accept that you're using this technique, you're using this power, because there is something more complex there that you don't understand. You don't have to know how a microwave works in order to heat up your cheeseburger. You don't have to know every wire and screw and nook and cranny in a skyscraper to walk in the front door, get on the elevator, and go up to the penthouse. Why waste your time trying to figure out the how when the whole point of this is to be a tool to make it easy for you so you don't have to figure out the how. That's the point. You figure out the technique to best put the intention out there, the manifestation out there, and then the universe will work out those details for you. It's a right-brained process. Another guy emailed me. He said, I don't know. He said, I don't like getting the stick on the machine, and I don't like the pendulum. And when I do the intuitive method, it seems a little weird to me. I said, look, you're trying too hard, man. Go with the intuitive method. Don't sweat it. This is a right-brained process. Tune the knobs to the place that feels good for you, that feels right for you, because if it feels right for you, it's feeling right for you for a reason. It's feeling right for you because you're getting feedback and it feels right. That's what this is all about. Connecting to the machine through feedback so that you get what feels right to you. You can use all kinds of different techniques, but do what feels right to you. I have so much stuff here that I could talk to you about that I almost want to call this part one. I'm not going to officially do that, but I think I'm going to go ahead and wind this podcast down. Today is a very interesting day for me. Today, guess what I'm about to do? I am about to go uncork and bottle a fine batch of home brewed wine. Home fermented wine, really. It's not, you brew beer, I guess, but this is fermented, home fermented wine. And I'm not talking about some redneck Pruno here. I've gotten very serious about learning the ins and outs of winemaking. And I've got all the little chemicals, and I've got the nice little jugs, and the airlocks, and the siphons, and the little heaters. And I've got all this stuff. But I'm not just having to stick to it by the book. This time I did stick to it by the book just to see how this turns out if you do everything perfectly. After this, I'm going to start experimenting. And if you're somebody out there who might have an interest in making your own wine at home, one of these days in the near future, I will do a podcast about how to make the easiest, basic, best shit that I've learned about how you can make some good ass wine yourself at home. Have you picked up on the fact that I enjoy wine? I might even create the Joshua P. Warren Winery one day. Who would like to have some of that, huh? Put your name on the list for something. You're like, oh, this is Joshua P. Warren Psychotronic Wine. You know, when I mentioned that I have a new product that I'm going to be bringing out soon. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's made of gold. You'll see very soon. I just have to, I'm behind on correspondence, and I got to get my ducks in a row now that I'm back from my TV shoot. And I haven't revealed to the world what this is. I only had one made, and it's just for me, and I love it so much that I'm going to make one batch for all of you. But here's the thing. I'm going to shoot a video, and I'm going to put this up there, and the video is going to last for 7 days. And at the end of 7 days, the video is going to disappear. Video is going to be gone. Web page is going to be gone. And I'm not bullshitting. I'm not exaggerating. You will have 7 days to purchase this thing. And then it's gone. It doesn't even exist anymore. You won't find this on the internet. And I have been getting emails from people saying, they listen to this podcast. They say, I don't know what in the world you're about to debut as this next product, but I want it. So just go ahead, put me down, put me on the list, because I'm buying it. Isn't that cool? And I was talking to Lauren last night about the fact that I have this special little chamber here in my laboratory, and it has got products that I'm going to release in the future that are so cool. I could release a product once a month for about a year, and every one of them would be kick ass. But I don't like to just release something as soon as I come up with it. I test it. I use it. I use it for months. And sometimes I'll use something and I'm like, this looked really cool, but it really didn't do anything. So by the time I sit down and I present something to you and I say, go to this page, if you want to get this thing, here's your opportunity. By the time I've done that, I've had it for a long time. I've experimented with it, because what good is it going to do me if I send you something that doesn't work for you? That ruins my reputation, makes me a shitty businessman. It's not good for you and your life. I want your life to be better. I want to give you things that help you. So just make sure, if you want to know what this new thing is that I'm about to reveal, if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at Joshua P. Warren. Sign up for my free e-newsletter. Okay, it takes you 2 seconds. You even get a free digital good luck charm instantly when you do this. Go to joshuapwarren.com, joshuapwarren.com, and you'll see the place where you can put in your email address there for the free e-newsletter. Click around. Enjoy everything. Go to the Curiosity Shop. See things there you won't find anywhere else in the world. See amazing videos. If you like this podcast, and you know somebody else who you think would like this podcast, here's what you can do for me, okay? Share it with them. Just hit the forward button to your friends, your loved ones. Post this podcast on your Facebook page. Post it on your Twitter page. We need a good community of like-minded people to get bigger and grow and grow and grow, and that's how collectively we become a better force for changing the world. And thank you for all of you. Thank you all of you who've done this, who've shared this. Thank you to all of you who are coming to my big conference here in Las Vegas as soon as we're allowed to do that. Thank you for your patience. It's going to be better than ever, I promise you. Thanks again to Bill and to Jason for sending me cool stuff. I mean, what a great community we have here of people we're just no nonsense, no bullshit. We can talk about metaphysics and the spiritual, but we're not like some woo woo woo. It's like, have an open mind, but not so much that your brains fall out, right? You've heard that before. We keep it practical because this stuff has a true, real, tangible, physical component. And I'm so happy that we're able to explore these abstract, philosophical, and creative ideas, but also do it with our feet firmly planted here on Earth, and in what works and what doesn't work. And we consider logic and the scientific method and all these things. So it keeps you well-rounded. You're using ultimately your left brain and your right brain. And that's what's important, having balance. So while you're there at joshuapwarren.com, please click the link to this podcast. I'm going to have another good one for you very soon. I could have almost kept going here, seriously, but I'm going to wait, space it out. So much stuff to talk about. Click the link to this podcast, Joshua P. Warren Daily. It's always short. It's always free. It is commercial free. It is uncensored. It is independent. Independent. I record this, I upload it, and you hear it, and nobody else is involved. No other companies, no advertisers, no sponsors. I won't have that. I turn it down so that I can keep my message pure and direct and raw, flaws and all, coming straight to you. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for your interest and support. Thank you for staying curious. And I will talk to you again soon.